Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice.
As we deepen into our service, let us set the tone for this service with a reading by Andrew Pakula. Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred space. Be not tentative. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your kindness and your compassion. Bring also your sorrow and your pain. Bring your brokenness and your disappointments. Spirit of love and mystery, help us to recognize the spirit, the spark of divine that resides within each of us. May we know the joy of wholeness, and may we know the joy of being together. We join Universalists, Unitarian Universalists all over the world in lighting our chalice. It's a symbol of the spark of life in each of us. Our chalice lighting words this morning are entitled The Wisdom to Know, and they're from the Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice as we learn to hold both tenderness and strength. May this flame illuminate the wisdom to know when compassion calls us, to offer comfort, and when it demands courageous action. We're joined by Cody Kurtz and Kianna Roecker, from the Dakota Center for Independent Living. Cody and Kianna are going to discuss their advocacy work, their programs around helping individuals with disabilities be as independent as they can be in the community, as well as the core services that serve as the basis for the center's advocacy work. The DCIL, or the Center, is a nonprofit advocacy organization that supports individuals of all ages that have many different kinds of disabilities, both visible and invisible. DCIL works to empower people with disabilities by minimizing barriers, advocating for inclusion, and promoting consumer choice. Please join me in welcoming Cody and Kianna in their program called Access for All.
My name is Kianna Roecker. I am the Independent Living Program Director at Dakota Center for Independent Living. We are an agency that was established in 1980. By the time it was 1994, we were given a 501(c) status, so we're a local nonprofit. We have 5 core services that we do at Dakota Center for Independent Living. The first is going to be that information and referral. So if anybody needs any information on the resources in the area, maybe how to do different things, they can come to us and we can help give them that information and refer them to different agencies depending on whatever services that person might need, depending on their situation. I didn't say my qualifications, I guess. So I've been in this field for about 16 years. I started on the criminal justice side working with psychiatric youth. Did that for, I'd say, around 6 years. And then for the last 16, I've been working with developmental disabilities. I just feel like there's a place in my heart for people to make sure everyone's included. And we minimize those barriers like she was reading from the notes that she had. In addition to that information and referral, we also do peer services and support. So with that, we have different volunteers that help people remain independent within their homes. So maybe they don't know how to cook a meal. Maybe they don't know how to wash laundry. Maybe they don't know just anything within their lives to be independent. We can help go into their home, help them learn how to do it, so that they can remain independent and not be institutionalized. Along with that peer services and support, we also do a social and rec program. Andrew actually leads that, does a really great job. It's just a good place for people to come in. We do different activities. We do arts and crafts. We go out to the movies. We might go to the Heritage Center. We just get people out and about and talking, which is, I think, one of the best things that we can do. In addition to that, we also do individual and systems advocacy. So this is assisting anyone with disabilities in safeguarding their civil rights. So this could be both at the local and state levels. And then going back again, we're doing that independent living skills training. So we're helping people learn how the fixed bus route if maybe they haven't done it before, or maybe it's somebody that newly became disabled. So they got in a car accident and no longer has a leg. We can show them how to navigate through that difficult time in their life, just so that they don't feel alone. We also help with transitional services, and you'll kind of touch more on that. But with that, we help people who are transitioning from being at home with their parents, living at home, and then transitioning out so they can live on their own and be independent. Our agency also does assessments, so any type of ADA assessments for all local businesses. We serve an 18-county area. I have some pamphlets that I can hand out after I'm done talking, but we serve 18 counties. We're in the southeastern side, so anything from Emmons all the way over to the border, Montana border, and all the way to the South Dakota border. So it's a pretty broad range. In addition to that, we like to provide education. So something that is really big in our agency is assistive technology. So a lot of the time people don't know all the things that are out there that can help them to be independent in their lives. And so we bring that to the forefront. We go to every county, we stop at different senior centers and show them, you could use this to help put on a shoe. This can help you put on your socks. This ramp can get you into your home, that type of thing. And then we assist people with ordering that. We also teach driver's permit courses. And so with that, if you're struggling to pass your driver's test, or if you just are wanting to do it and you need a little bit more assistance than others, we do help prepare for that test as well. We also do disability etiquette, so we learn those or teach those respectful ways to deal with anyone who might have a disability. And then we also have cross-disability panels and brain injury panels. So with those two, we will get together a group of people who have different experiences in their life, and we'll just talk about it, how they obtain their disability, what they can do to overcome the barriers that they have in their lives and things like that. And then we also offer support groups. So for brain injuries, things like that, there's talk about doing maybe an autism type support group as well. This last year, we recently got a grant, and this is kind of passion for me because I love gardening and planting, but got a grant so we can build an ADA accessible raised garden bed, so wheelchairs can go right underneath, which is going to be so amazing once we get that built. And then we're also going to incorporate like healthy eating, nutrition, things like that. And then we also are going to be doing a kids program, so once a month kids can come in from all ages up to the age of 24, and then we'll help them with homework, getting along with peers, doing fun things, different games, just team building, all that sort of thing. So those are just some of the programs that we do on the independent living side. And does anyone want a brochure so you can kind of follow along? I can hand those out.
All right, I'm Cody Kurtz. I'm one of the program directors for Dakota Center for Independent Living. I handle two of the grant programs that we get that we're contracted for through the North Dakota Department of Human Services. The first one is called Money Follows the Person. The next one is called the North Dakota Transition and Diversion Program. My background, I come from the disability world. I've worked mainly with people with developmental disabilities. I've worked in nursing homes. One thing part of Center for Independent Living is that 51% of our staff need to have some sort of disability. So who better to help with disabilities than people that have disabilities? So one of our core services is transition services. So, excuse me, the Money Follows the Person program, that's a federally funded Medicaid grant program. And that's going to help older adults or peoples with developmental disabilities transition from nursing homes or other institutions back to the community. So nursing homes are great, but not everybody chooses to live there. And so the grant, anybody that participates with the grant, so you just have to be eligible for North Dakota Medicaid. You have to have lived in a nursing facility or another institution for at least 60 consecutive days and then want to return to a community setting. Grant participants, they're assisted by transition coordinators who work for the Center for Independent Living, and then a collaborative team also that can help them with their transition back to the community. The transition coordinator will work with the person who wants to move back to the community, living by creating a written plan that identifies how are we going to get you safely back to the community. Not only physically safely, but financially safe back to the community, because you know, if you're going to have to move into an apartment, we all know that rent is terribly expensive, right? So we want it to be financially able to live there as well. So the person's needs, what are their wants, what are their needs, how do we arrange services so that we can support them in their homes. A person moving from a nursing home, after they transition to the community, they will be followed by the Money Follows the Person program for 365 days. They have access to that grant money for that amount of time. A person with a developmental disability moving from an institution, again, will have that 365. Some of the things that we can help with when a person moves back to the community, we can help with health and safety technology. So if there's something that we can install in your home to make it so that you can be more independent, we'll help with security and utility deposits. So if we're finding you an apartment because you've lived in the nursing home for 5 years, say, we're going to help you find an apartment. We're going to help you get into that apartment. We'll pay security and utility deposits. We can do home modifications. If you're moving back to your community home and now you need a ramp to get into your home, the grant will help you build a ramp into your home. We can modify inside the home. Maybe you can no longer do a tub, so we're going to put in a walk-in shower for you. Adaptive equipment, what kind of things? Do you need a wheelchair, a walker, a shower chair, grab bars, those types of things. We can do home furnishings, so anything that you need to live in a home. So we can furnish it for you. Again, assistive technology devices to make it, we can do one-time vehicle modification. So maybe you still want to drive, but you know, you need to have your vehicle modified. We can also do that as well. So that's one of the programs that helps people transition from a nursing facility. So if you know anybody in a nursing facility that's just like, this is not my jam anymore, I don't want to live here, we can certainly explore looking into the community. The other grant program we have that I oversee is called the North Dakota Transition and Diversion Program. And that program is actually intended to help keep people out of nursing facilities. So we might get a referral for someone that their home is no longer accessible because they lost mobility issues. That grant program can help them build a ramp onto their home. So the purpose of that grant is to try to keep people out of more restrictive environments. And again, the purpose of these programs is, again, to give people a choice of where they want to live. You don't have to live in an institution just because you've lost some of your abilities that you once had in the community. You can live in the community. Aging Services of North Dakota, they have a program through home and community-based services. And that program can actually provide up to 24/7 care in someone's home. So basically can replicate what type of services that you are getting in the nursing facility, but in your home. Because again, Medicaid says we have to pay the cost in a nursing facility, but if somebody chooses to live in the community, we will pay that cost as well. So it gives people the ability to kind of choose where they want to live, if that is safe for them to do. Again, biggest thing is safety. We want to make sure we're not going to put anybody in a situation where it's not going to be safe for them.
When you were talking about things, it made me think of the peer-to-peer programs in the schools, which my younger sons took part in, and it was really, they just loved it, and there's so much joy, and it was so wonderful. And it was that idea of getting comfortable too with people who are different from you. And when you talked about the disability etiquette, I would love for you to give us like the shortest crash course on that, because I think that really people get awkward when they don't know, and people aren't very good about being like, I don't know how to address this. And so there's just that weird Midwestern awkwardness, and I would love for you to talk about that etiquette.
There definitely, do you want to talk about it? There definitely is, because sometimes when people see somebody in a wheelchair, they're like, ooh, can I even talk to them? Can they even communicate with me? Of course they can. I mean, they're, depending upon what their disability is, right? Something as simple as etiquette as far as don't lean on somebody's wheelchair, right? Don't lean on it to talk to them. Something as simple as that. So I think it's very important, and I think it's important to start with the young people, right? How do you communicate with, there was one time one of our staff was at a restaurant with one of our other staff that's in a wheelchair, and the waiter came up and was taking the order and specifically talked to the staff that didn't look like they had a disability, thinking that our staff that was in a wheelchair couldn't communicate what he wanted to eat for lunch. So just things like that are just the simplest things, like, just because somebody's in a wheelchair doesn't mean they can't communicate. They could have had an accident. It could have been a born, they were born with some sort of disability. So, talk to them first to see. Maybe they do have communication issues because they have cerebral palsy or something where maybe their speech isn't exactly where it needs to be. But yeah, etiquette that's a good question. And it should start with the young people, because, they need to learn how to communicate, and that people with disabilities are the same as us. So
I'm just going to mention something about the people first language, because at my last job 8 or 10 years ago, we had to enforce people first language, and then we had to follow it ourselves and then catch ourselves. And I saw that's in there in your brochure, and just wanted to note that that had such a huge impact on all the folks that we worked with who had disabilities. And people first language just put the person first, so they're not an adjective. There's not like this person is autistic as an adjective. No, they're a person with autism. They're not in a wheelchair. Like, I'm confined in a jail in a wheelchair and I'm helpless. No, they're a person who uses a wheelchair to get around. So you just put the person first, throw everything else later as second. And it's really logical, but it's a huge shift. But I don't see it happening that much in the mainstream culture. Like my mom and dad, I'm constantly correcting them, like, no, they're not disabled. It's a person who has a disability. And mom and dad's, oh, whatever, okay. So what does that movement look like, or what do we need to make it better? And then in a general, bigger sense, what are some of the other biggest problems we have in this community and that you struggle with, and what are the solutions for those? How can we help be the part of the solution?
No, that's a really good question. And yeah, you're right. A disability is just another ability, right? So I think the thing we need to do in the community is just teach people about disabilities, right? A disability isn't something you can necessarily see, right? There's mental health disabilities, which seem to be a stigma in this country for whatever reason, especially in our Midwest culture, right? If you have anxiety, just tough it out, right? What's wrong with you? Just have a better day. That's not easy for people to do, right? You can't just have a better day. Depression, alcoholism, all of those things are disabilities. It's not just what you can see. So I think education is the biggest thing. How do we educate people on what is a disability, right? And
not only that, but like repetition. The more we talk about it, the more we bring it to the forefront of everyone's minds, the more we're going to actually do something about it. Also by leading. So by doing the people first language and showing people and, you know, correcting your parents whenever they do that so that people can learn.
Problems in our community or challenges that you need help with and what we could do to support?
I guess, in my personal opinion, transportation is a really big issue. Some people will wait up to 2 hours for the transit bus to come just because we have such limited rides and availability of those rides that are accessible for the people who use those wheelchairs or use walkers and things like that. And so just, I guess,
Yeah, that is
knowing about it and maybe attending meetings, coming and just, you know, advocating for those that might not be able to get to those meetings at the transit board meetings or things like that. What else?
Yeah, transportation is a huge one. I mean, you know, sometimes transit only runs till 7 or 8 o'clock at night because of staffing issues. Well, people want to go do things after 7 o'clock at night, right? And you should be able to do that even if you have a disability. So I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
You know, accessibility into public places is a big thing. And like Kianna talked about, we do accessibility, you know, assessments, but it doesn't require a business to make it accessible, unfortunately. So somebody in a wheelchair might want to go eat at a certain restaurant, but they can't get into it because there's no ramp or no way to get into it. So that type of stuff is huge. Having a Braille menu, that's a big thing. What if you're blind? I want to know what I can eat here, and I don't want to have somebody read it to me. So.
And that's actually something we're working on, reaching out to different agencies to bring them awareness that maybe we need a Braille menu. I've also been just making large print for different places like Ohm's Cafe. I did it for Little Cottage, but now they're gone. But but no, just like getting it out there and providing it at a free cost to people, because then maybe they'll actually use it and realize that they need it. So
Yes.
I just wanted to a story really quick that says what you're saying. I had paralysis on my face suddenly, and it was interesting to me, and I just wanted to say, like, people didn't talk to me. I didn't have anything wrong with my cognition. I was completely present and I understood what was going on, but there was an automatic assumption when my face was paralyzed that something was wrong with me intellectually, which was really, and there was a sense of it must be something she's had for a long time. Like, if nobody had met me before, there was just an automatic assumption that this is something I've had all the time rather than something that has just happened to me. So that speech about how we do, even speech itself, just because someone talks, their cadence isn't right or their thing, it does not mean that cognition isn't fully there. So appreciate you coming.
With like those federal grants and stuff, are you guys dealing with any issues with the current administration and being able to provide people with the care that they need?
So far, we have not seen anything. Because they're Medicaid funded grants, we don't expect to see it because Medicaid is actually one of the core services and it's a required service to continue. But we will, I would assume, and we're already preparing it, right? The Big Beautiful Bill, which that name is, I don't know. Anyway, the Big Beautiful Bill is going to change some things in Medicaid starting in 2026. So the one thing that we do is we just try to kind of get ahead of maybe what we might be seeing, right? We're going to have to be smart with how we spend. So we just have to be real smart on how we spend the grant money so that we can continue to show that these are needed programs and that they help people. Because if they do go away, it's going to affect a lot of people. So, good question.
Do you have any, not protests, but advocacy movements where you can advertise, hey, these things are helping people and this is an important thing? Like, do you have a way to show the people so that other people can help advocate for you?
We do have social media, if that's what you mean. So we have a Facebook. We also have a website that we utilize, and then everything gets also posted on our Instagram. I know, like Cody was saying, SNAP benefits look like they're going to be pausing as of November 1st. So we're making sure we're putting out different information on our website, putting it out on our Instagram, on our Facebook, where they can get food, the free pantries, things like that. Different churches that might offer free meals and stuff. Just to make sure that the people that we are serving aren't losing their nutrition and their food and things like that. So I think we do a pretty good job getting out and about. Also, if there's any type of like health fairs that go on, we typically are invited to those. So we come and just kind of advocate for all the people in our communities. We just get out and about. Like I said, with those AT booths, we go to all the different senior centers. We are just trying to like get out and get our word out, because even when I started at this position, or with this agency, I hadn't really heard of them because they were just a little bit smaller than all the other disability advocacy groups. But we do such an amazing thing here in this community, and I think that if we were to grow, that would be a really amazing thing.
Yeah, and speaking of the SNAP benefits potentially being paused as of November 1st, if you have even a little bit of means to help stock some of the food pantries, because I would guess that the food pantries are going to be inundated with people lining up to get food, because it's got to be scary for those people, right? Even if you can afford the food and how much it costs these days, I can't imagine knowing that your resources for finding food, how scary that might be coming up in a week. That it might potentially be paused, and then they won't get their benefits. That's scary.
I'll extinguish the chalice with some closing words by Linda Barnes entitled, "May Love Always Be at Your Center." May you embrace your growing with compassion. May courage be yours as you answer your heart's calling. May beauty and wonder be yours even when the going gets rough. May love be always at your center. May it be so.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. You want the world to know. You won't let hatred grow. Put a little love in your heart. I hope when you decide this will be your guide. Put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait.